As someone who has bred and raised over 30 baby chameleons, I don't recommend buying a chameleon egg. Today, I'm gonna be going over everything that is involved from raising a chameleon from an egg to a year old and what it actually looks like. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So in the intro, you heard me say that I've bred and raised 30 baby chameleons. Well, I actually had 40 eggs, and that's a big thing with chameleon eggs, is that there's a possibility that they're not even going to hatch. Some of the eggs went bad almost immediately after being laid, so just something was wrong with those. Others actually made it all the way through incubation. They went through the entire 9 months before they went bad. Sometimes they have deformities. Some of them just can't get out of the egg for whatever reason. So just know that there is a possibility that you could wait all that time, get super excited, and then they're still not going to hatch. Some other things with chameleon eggs that I know I've heard people say is that they're cheaper, right? I think chameleon eggs are going for like $150 right now, whereas a well-established, well-bred, individually raised, super healthy juvenile panther chameleon, you're looking anywhere from like $500, $800, even higher than that sometimes for a chameleon. So like, oh, it'll be cheaper. Let me tell you, as someone who has raised all of these babies from teeny tiny peanuts to a year old now, they are not cheap. Not cheap at all. And in fact, you'd actually save money if you just bought the well-established baby. I know it's a higher price point, but in the long run, you're actually saving yourself money. Because when I was raising my babies, I had to buy multiple enclosures. So you have their baby enclosure, we call it their nursery setup for when they're little. So you're buying that enclosure, lights, plants, everything like that. That's probably at least $200. Then you're going to get their like full grown-up enclosures, like these guys behind me. These will run you another like $300 plus to get set up correctly. So that's already like $500 right there. You would have saved yourself, you know, probably like the $200 versus if you had just gotten this one to begin with. Additionally, the cost of food, okay? Don't get me started. Oh, see, I can see this little spider. Because I had, what I'm about to say, a ton of fruit flies in my home, okay? So I was breeding fruit fly cultures because hatchlings need teeny tiny food. So they're eating flightless fruit flies, so you're having to have cultures or buy them, which is costly. Then pinhead crickets, so you're spending all that time on food raising them versus if you had already bought them pre-established, that would have saved you a lot of money. I'm dropping a few $100s a month just on crickets and bugs and everything else. Now granted, that is for multiple chameleons, but you can do the math, it'll still add up. Not to mention the nuance, I have had fruit flies in my house for months. I still have crickets in my house currently because I still have some babies that I'm raising. And so like they get out and everywhere. And with that come other pests like the spider you just saw climbing from my ceiling fan, because they just love munching on all the fruit flies, and I don't blame them. This is like a spider haven. There's like dark little corners and you just get an endless supply of fruit flies and crickets. So you have to be prepared to have small bugs. Most places like, you know, your chain pet stores and stuff like that aren't going to sell your tiny fruit flies and crickets, so I highly recommend breeding your own, which is what I did, but then that's a whole nother thing. One thing to mention too, if you're waiting for your egg to hatch, is they will hatch at different rates. So I know typically 9 months is the incubation time. When you buy the egg, they'll put like the date on there and everything else, but no guarantee that's going to hatch. Some hatch as early as 6 months, some hatch a year, if not longer. I've actually heard of a horror story where someone threw out their eggs, didn't hatch, and then the baby chameleon hatched in their trash can and they found it dead. So please don't do that. So obviously, if that's the case, you have to be prepared to have food on hand. Baby chameleon, when they first hatch, will absorb the yolk in their body. That only gets them through the first couple of days of life, and then you need to be feeding them tons of bugs every single day, which can be a lot if you're someone who has travel planned. Because what if you're traveling and then your egg hatches while you're gone because it's not in that window, or you're actually moving your travel around the hatch window, but then it doesn't even hatch in that window, so then you gotta move your travel again. Or what if you want to go out of town, but now you have this baby chameleon that needs to eat every single day? Well, let me tell you, as someone who had a cruise planned, okay, it was a week-long cruise. It was like a pretty long cruise. I had to call my mom to come over on baby chameleon hatching duty. I had all my enclosures, I had my fruit fly cultures, I had all my bugs, because this was the second clutch of babies, so I already had the first clutch hatched and going. And yeah, she had to come and check on all the babies because they were hatching like crazy, and I needed someone to come and check on them. So you have to be prepared for that, versus a well-established baby. You could be gone for the weekend and they'd be totally fine as long as your lights are on, timers, your automatic misting system, you are golden. Which brings me to the next point. Hatchling care is completely different than juvenile or adult care. And this is something I had to do a lot of homework on, because while I've raised juvenile and adult chameleons for years, this was my first time with hatchlings. So I had to learn that hatchlings don't need heat bulbs, and that you can actually like overheat them very easily, especially if they're in smaller enclosures. I also have to be like very knowledgeable on UV index and UVB bulbs, making sure I'm providing the correct gradient of UVB for my hatchlings, especially if they're in smaller enclosures. So there's just a lot of nuances, and then supplementation is going to look different for hatchlings than with juvenile and adult. So there's a lot that goes into it, and truthfully, you can do everything right, and they still die. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And one of my breeder mentors put it perfectly. She's like, it's just like sea turtles, where they lay a bunch of eggs, not all of them are gonna make it, right? And that's just Mother Nature, and that's just statistics, and chameleons work the same way. They lay very large clutches, 20 to 30 eggs at a time, and not all the babies are gonna make it, truthfully. And so I've had babies that were 2-3 months old, and they didn't make it, even under proper care. I have mentored other people who have reached out, and their care is spot on, and their baby chameleons that they hatch out of an egg didn't make it. Now, I have plenty of success stories where I have 30 babies that are healthy and thriving, that made it all the way through the sea turtle ocean journey. However, like, that's just really tough, especially if you don't have chameleon experience, or you're not like super crisp on your care. The margin for error with chameleons in general is very small. Juveniles and adults, you still have to be super on top of it. The margin for error for hatchlings is 0. You cannot mess up. So by buying a well-established juvenile or even adult, then they're already past that hump. Think of it like puppies, right? If you purchase a puppy at 2 weeks old versus at the 8 or 9 week month, those are two completely different puppies. One's gonna have a much higher chance of success, whereas the other one, not as much. So there's that. Another thing I hear all the time is that people want to be able to bond and build trust with their chameleons. And people ask me, should I buy a younger one or an older one? And so a lot of people want to buy these hatchlings so they can build trust with them. I totally see the logic in that. However, as someone who, again, has had 30 baby chameleons, they are nutso, okay? They are a little crazy, and they just scurry. They'll just fly off your hand. They will physically jump off of you. They're just scurrying, crawling, little like blah, chameleons, okay? There is nothing like on the internet where you see these calm chameleons that are just like climbing your hand like a little treadmill, or are propped on your shoulder. No, okay? Let me de-influence you for a second. They are not. They're little kamikaze bombs that just go pew, 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 and jump off of you and splat and like run everywhere, and they're impossible to handle. So difficult. This is why when breeders get asked, hey, can you send me a picture of my baby? Like, we all cringe a little inside. Like, yes, of course, of course, of course. We want to show you your baby, 1000%. But to try to take a picture of a baby chameleon or get them out of their enclosure is an experience in and of itself, okay? So the whole building trust thing, not really a thing when they're this little and running around everywhere. Additionally, if you bought one that was like, say, 5 or 6 months old, your breeder knows their temperament. I'm telling you, they all have their own little personalities. Some are little marshmallows and are born like that from day one. Others want nothing to do with you and are scared out of their marbles and are trying to do everything to survive, including biting you, okay? You can tell a breeder who knows each of their babies and spends time with them, you know their personalities. So if there's a temperament you like the little shy guy, you want the little spicy girl, buy one that is already established, because your breeder can help point you in the right direction and pick out one that fits the temperament that you're interested in. Additionally, then you can know if you have a boy or a girl. Because let me tell you, trying to sex these babies is a challenge, because you feel like you're going cross-eyed. Like, do I see colors? Do I not? Do I see a hemipenal bulge? Do I not? And so with Triton, he was the very first one to be born. I raised him, he's officially a year old, which is very exciting. When he finally was old enough for me to tell that he was a boy, I would say he was close to 4 months old. That's a long time to wait. But at that point I was like, okay, I am for sure that you're a boy. And he had a fantastic temperament from the beginning. I could tell. He was just very confident, would let me work in his enclosure and be good. So another pro to having one that's already established is you can know if it's a boy and girl, you can know its temperament, you can also know its genetics, right? If you buy an egg, nothing saying its genetics are what they say they are, right? Or what they're gonna look like. You have an idea of what the parents look like, but you don't know what they're gonna look like, versus if you buy a baby that's already on its way, then you know exactly what it looks like. So it's been really fun to see the different growth rates, the different personalities, the different colors, the different sizes. They're not all even the same sizes, even though they were born at the same time. So it's truly been a journey, but man, have I learned so much. It would not advise anyone to deal with hatchlings unless you're fully prepared for everything that I'm saying. Then, best of luck. I'm excited for you. Okay, the last thing I want to say is that chameleons are very slow growers. Very slow growers, okay? And some breeders may or may not fudge the ages a little bit. That's maybe another video for another day. But they are very slow growers. So just know with a hatchling, it's going to be probably 5 or 6 months before you're starting to see some colors, and really a full year before you get their full color. So just know that slow and steady wins the race. I highly recommend buying a juvenile closer to 5 to 6 months old. There you'll know temperament, it'll be easier to feed them. You can buy one enclosure. You'll know if it's a healthy baby, they've made it past the sea turtle hump, so to speak. The bugs are a lot more manageable. You'll know if they're a boy or a girl. They are just a known entity that is healthy, established, and setting you up for success. Because again, margin for error with chameleons is very small. With babies, it's almost non-existent. So I'm very grateful to have been on this journey. Breeding is so rewarding. It is a ton of work. These hatchlings have put me through the ringer between thousands of bugs that I've been dealing with, fruit flies all over my house, babies passing away for no particular reason, my electricity bill going up, just so much work. But to see them thrive and be successful, and to see you guys have them in your homes has just been so warm and fuzzy for me. So I just want you to know what you're getting yourself into. And those are some of my learnings over the last year of raising a chameleon all the way from an egg to 1 year old. Happy birthday to Triton and to all of the babies that I've been hatching. At least the first clutch is a year old. The second clutch isn't quite a year old. So that's gonna be a wrap on today's video. If you are interested in one of my baby chameleons, I do have just a few left. You can apply for one on my website, neptunethechameleon.com. Feel free to give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Leave any questions or comments down below. Subscribe so you don't post a new video. You can follow me and all my chameleons on social media at Neptune the Chameleon. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Takes a while to raise them. I don't know how I want to say that. I can hear my dog whining. 1 second.